think. Yeah, there we go, live. Alright. So stay tuned, everybody. On this week's episode, we will be spoiling everything that happens with the end of the living story this go around. So if you haven't completed the living story, you should get out while you can, because this is spoiler central. So stay tuned. There we go. Alright. Sorry, guys. Still getting used to this new set of streaming software, because they updated it again. But hello everyone, and welcome to episode number 86 of the Chronicles of Tyria podcast, Guild Wars 2 podcast, for fans, by fans. On this week's episode of CoT podcast...
Oh, is this the part?
Yeah, this is the
my
part.
big drill brings all the Tyrians to my knights, and they're like, no conditions this fight. Damn right. No conditions this fight. I could warp you, but you have to charge your attunements. That's how we roll.
Yeah, that is indeed how we roll.
Alright, so that's good.
So that's done. Alright, we can move on now. So... thanks again, everybody that's coming out to watch us live. We greatly appreciate it. Oh, hang on. I forgot to add something. Bromms, talk to the people.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the end of the living story. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the living story and how it ends. Surprise. You see, Scarlet has been causing us no end of trouble. And finally, it seems that we get to stick it to her. But will we? You'll just have to wait and find out. Do I need to stall for more time?
Just a little bit. I want to throw a spoiler warning across the screen here. So
right.
That's
well,
useful.
It's not only Scarlet's been causing us problem, it's the Aether Blades.
It's true.
And the Molten Alliance. And there's also some other things. The other poison guys, whose name might Toxic Alliance, they are a problem. You see, they came to our city, and they destroyed it. But not all the way. And they didn't destroy our spirit. We are going to take it back. We took the fight to Scarlet. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Please? Because this is getting real bad. Alright, thanks.
Yeah. I wanted to see if I could do animation to it, but it's too hard to do anything, currently. But anyway, I just added a spoilers thing so people will know that there's spoilers. Also, totally forgot to do the warning at the beginning.
That's okay. They know now.
They know now.
There's going to be spoilers. If you don't want to listen about the Scarlet stuff,
yeah,
then
get
don't.
out now. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
That's a good warning.
Gonna do a meme this week, but was cramped for time here because I wanted to make sure we could get this going without any much delay. So no meme. And we didn't have a question of the week last week, so we're just going to move right on to shoutouts.
Yeah.
Bromms, appears you have some shoutouts.
I do. Okay. I have shoutouts this week, and I didn't forget them.
All right.
I don't know why I just hit puberty right there.
That's
but
all right.
That's
hey,
for another time.
It's a big step.
Yeah. Well, every boy's got to get there eventually. The first shout out is to Nick. He is one of our awesome guildmates, and he's one of my friends offline. And he just had his first child today. So, congratulations very much, Nick. And congratulations to your wife as well. Everything went just fine from what I understand. So, that's awesome. And, yeah, we might have a new guild member in, 5 years? That might work, right?
Depends on... enough. I mean, hopefully we'll all still be playing Guild Wars 2 in 5 years, and
we will be. We might have Guild Wars by then.
Yeah. Guild Wars maybe. Wishful thinking. And you had another one?
Yeah. The other one, I wanted to give a shout out to Tully, because I know that most of the time we give him crap for being a troll, but that's because he is a giant troll. Mm-hmm. However, this time I wanted to give a shout out because he's been doing a lot of kind of the admin stuff in the guild that needs to get done, inviting people in and taking care of promoting people and things like that. It's nice to have someone doing that so we don't have to worry about it, because I know that both of us have been really, really busy, and I know that some of the other people in the guild have been really busy. So I just wanted to let him know that I appreciate that he is always on that, and yeah, it's good to know that it's getting taken care of. So thank you very much. You're awesome.
All right. So thank you, Tully. Feels weird to say that.
I know, right?
I'm trying to think. I have any shoutouts for this week. Shout out to everybody listening to us on iTunes. If you won't be listening to this for a while because I still haven't updated last week's episode, I am putting it on iTunes because I have to go in and edit it. So I'm sorry for the iTunes listeners. I've never done any of the posting to iTunes before, so I'm still learning that. So bear with me. It may take a little bit for me to catch up to speed here.
Yeah,
but
we're getting there though. There's a lot to learn with all this stuff. So yeah, you're getting it though. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think so. So all right, let's move on. Where are we heading next? Okay, we got some comments from our mailbag that we did from our show from Saturday. The not surprisingly, but quite successful show we did on Saturday.
Yeah, it was awesome. I assume we're going to be doing that again because I had a lot of fun. I think you had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I did. It was good.
We had a really good turnout. So yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. We asked to see. Actually, that was a question of the week last week. I think. Do you think we should continue to do this on Saturday? Nobody answered us. So
it was like an unofficial.
It actually had questions of the week last week, but we didn't get any responses.
Well, we'll just assume we got a bunch because I like Saturday shows. So.
Yeah. No, we had a lot of good feedback from people here that were watching us live. So I think we are going to try to make that a once a month thing permanently.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for that. We will update you as soon as we know what day. We want to try to keep it consistent for you guys. Like if we say it's going to be the last Saturday of the month, then you'll know to check that out. But that's kind of difficult as we get closer to the summer months because a lot of holidays for us here in America seem to fall around the end of the month, like Memorial Day and that kind of stuff all seems to fall at the end of the month. But I don't know. We'll see. But we did have YouTube comments, so we'll just run through these real quick.
Yeah.
Darishan on YouTube. Hope this is a regular thing. Shame I missed it. We'll take Fishbait there.
Yeah. Fishbait says it's the first time he had a chance to watch in ages. Lots of catching up to do. Another hint for gear swaps. You can tranny stone NG goggles and the hobo sack. That's such a great way to put that. That NGs get at the start to gear, so NGs can have both on one character. It's actually really good to know. P.S. The Citizens comic. I don't know what that means.
My thoughts. I think we might have mentioned the comic, and I don't know if that means that.
Oh, right.
He wants like the Citizens guy to show up somewhere in the comic. I don't know. I'm that's what I'm guessing. Oh boy, how many times have we butchered this name?
Shoya.
Shoya?
That sounds good.
On YouTube, I'm sorry for your name.
That's
too many vowels.
too many. Yeah.
The initiate episode for Lag taking the helm, not bad at all. Smiley face, thank you.
Yeah. And David Rodriguez Jr. says, "Good show today, guys. Thank you very much, David."
Yes. So, we do have a little bit of news that we're gonna run into before we talk about the spoiler part of it. But some of it's actually gonna be, you know what? It's gonna be spoilers right now, so bear with us. Because we're gonna, you know what? Maybe I should do this after we can talk about everything that leads up to it. So I'm gonna skip that little bit. We'll come back.
You're being mysterious.
I am.
Don't
forget, guys. Every Wednesday. Oh, by the way, sorry.
Every Wednesday. ...
Whenever. Did you mute yourself?
Did I mute myself?
No, you didn't. You just like. Never mind. It's fine. Anyway, I said for those of you in chat, I meant, for the people that were watching to say, like, send us messages saying, make it a show on Saturday, not like tell us in the chat. Even though I read the chat, so. Because I'm getting a lot of.
That's not gonna make sense to anybody other than people.
I'm sorry, iTunes. Don't even bother.
Yeah.
I'm responding to the chat because I'm getting messages and just whatever. Anyway, every Wednesday here at Chronicles Eteria, over at chronicleseteria.com/comic, we release a new webcomic. A new one went up this past Wednesday, and currently ongoing is our Design a Character contest. We have 2 of the characters already designed. We are looking for your assistance to design the other 3. The human, the Char, and the Asura character are up for grabs. Please submit our information to comic@chronicleseteria.com. If you head over to chronicleseteria.com/comic, you'll be able to see all of the information. You'll also be able to see the character profiles for the 2 characters and the 3 comics that are out so far. And again, I'll link in the description the Design a Character contest link, and I'll also post it in chat again, just in case you guys missed it. But it's running until the 25th, and we're hoping to get the judging done within the week from all the submissions, and then we'll be ready to roll out the new character profile sheets the following week. So be on the lookout.
Cool.
You had some news, looks like.
Yeah, just something real quick. I just wanted to let everybody know that if you have or haven't been following the Let's Lore, we are just about out of pre-searing. This next episode that's going to get loaded on Friday is going to be the 4 of us meeting up finally for the first time. So if you were waiting for us to get out of pre-searing, now is your chance to catch up. And our first meeting with all 4 people was pretty awesome. So definitely check it out when it posts up on Friday. That's all.
Sorry, I misjudged my timing. It ends on the 19th, the contest. Sorry, Son. I see you yelling at me in the chat there. I mixed up the dates. My mistake.
That's okay.
Anyway, all the information is in the link that I posted and will be linked in the description. So contest ends on the 19th. So, yes, tomorrow, the Let's Lore of the completion of pre-searing will be uploaded. So, be on the lookout for that.
Yeah.
All right. So now I think it's time to get into the meat of the patch here.
Sounds good.
So, let's talk a couple of little things. We'll get them out of the way first. Tormented weapons in the gem store. well, not in the gem store, available for Black Lion tickets. For those of you that are familiar with Guild Wars 1, these are the tormented weapons that you know from Guild Wars 1. Although, albeit, depending on your RNG luck, much easier to obtain than they were in Guild Wars 1, which is just a ton of grinding. But a lot of them remain pretty much untouched design-wise.
They're one of the best that have, in my opinion, they're one of the best that have been released in a while. I really like how these ones turned out for the most part. So,
yeah, the shield's still as cool as ever, which is the best one, I would say.
Yeah, I like the scepter. I really liked, and typically I don't like the scepters that much. Yeah, it was the first one in a long time that made me actually almost want to spend my ticket, because I like them, but I'm still being stingy.
Yeah, I hear you. How many tickets do you have?
I just have one.
Okay, so you're waiting for that special skin? Wait, I think you muted yourself now.
Yeah, I did. What the heck?
Smooth.
All right, let me take this and get it out of my way so I don't mute myself.
Also,
all right.
Congrats on the new headset, by the way. I noticed that last week.
What?
Is that a new headset?
No.
It looks new.
But thanks.
It sounds better than it did
really?
before. Yeah. Less white noise. No white noise.
I don't know.
Maybe it's the mic.
Yeah, it's something.
I don't know.
I have no idea. Anyway.
Okay, so you were saying
Yeah.
saving it for that special item?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to replace the weapons I've got right now because I really, really, really like them. I'm still using the Jade longbow and Volcanus for my great sword, so it's going to take a lot to replace those. But I do like the tormented weapons. I think they're one of the more unique skins that we've had in a while, and I like that. I like that we're getting stuff that's just not blah.
Yeah. And no, I agree, and I picked up a couple of the shields because that was something I always wanted to get for a character in Guild Wars 1 and just never got around to grinding out to get one.
Right on.
They also added the guild shield finisher.
Guild.
I actually haven't seen this. I haven't looked up the video. Have you seen that?
I have not. I saw a picture of it, but I haven't seen the video, so really no.
Okay. So that's a new finisher that will display your guild's emblem. And then there was the Scarlet Champion mini pack with the Aetherblade Admiral, Molten Berserker, and Toxic Warlock. And if you combine them with a mini Mytrin, you will receive a mini Scarlet Briar.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the mini holographic Scarlet Briar. So, did you be interested in the mini pets at all? These ones?
No.
Yeah.
Not really. They're okay. I usually go for the minis, but I have like 500 gems right now, and I'm like really holding on to them until it's something I desperately want. So, and I know like Super Adventure Box is probably hopefully right around the corner in a month, so I'm kind of waiting for that too.
Fair enough.
Super Adventure Box.
I'm close. I'm approaching 10k, so there'll be 400 more gems for me.
Nice.
So that'll be exciting.
Yeah.
Is it Armored Scarlet Briar? Armored Scarlet Briar. You're right.
Okay.
Thank you, Alec Carlina.
Cool.
All right, so let's talk the patch. Real talk. Get ready, people. If you're watching and you're, flirting with danger here, with spoilers. This is where the meat of the spoilers is gonna happen. I can't help and hope but notice that our viewer count is based on the fact that we're spoiling everything.
I don't flirt with danger. I buy danger a beer and take it back to my house.
Oh man, look at this guy.
I don't know.
All right.
Anyway.
So, just general consensus. What do you think?
I absolutely loved it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was everything that I hoped that it would be, to be perfectly honest. I have no complaints. I really have no complaints. I didn't run into a lot of the bugs that a lot of other people did, so that's part of it. But I absolutely enjoyed it. They did a really great job, and yeah, no complaints at all.
Okay.
What about you?
I have some issues with this.
Well, that means that we can disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked parts of the patch. I really disliked parts of the patch. So
Okay.
we'll have some interesting back and forth.
Yeah.
So let's start off with the fact that Lion's Arch is now almost like a zone again that you can waypoint into. Like a lot of the map looks different. It shows like the the points of interest and things look more back to normal, I would say.
Yeah.
What else? It's basically, this is my number one problem. Let's not call it number one. Let's call it problem one. Zergy patches. Zerg patches are great when they're infrequent. If you think about, let's take the first, I don't know, 8 months or so of Living Story. Alright, it was all little bits of content here and there. And, back and forth, do a little bit here, do a little bit there. No big deal. Not a ton of stuff. And then Queen's Jubilee happened and it was like Zergfest. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually pretty fun. I have pretty fond memories of like running around and just racking up loot, leveling characters while people are upstairs fighting Liadri and all that stuff. And that was great.
Yeah. That was like one of the first times that we actually had kind of a loot fest in the game. Like that was it was just before all the champion farming, so everyone was kind of doing that stuff. But yeah, anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. So that was great. Then I'm trying to think. We kind of had Zergy patch with the marionette, sort of. I guess you could argue that, but not so much because we had the break. But then last patch, Zergtown, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to Zergtown. We are running around Lion's Arch. We need a Zerg. We don't technically need a Zerg to do anything, but it was just Zerg, roaming Zerg, WV-dub style.
Yeah.
And then this patch again is even more Zergy because the enemies are difficult, so you have to Zerg. And I don't like this kind of stuff back to back to back like this.
Yeah, see, I can kind of understand, like, you do have to have groups to get most of the events done.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like how you can... I like that the city's not closed off anymore. You can just kind of go in there wherever.
Yep.
Because I like just running around and killing stuff in there sometimes. And like that you can do without a group. You can't do any of the bigger events really because you'll get overwhelmed. But yeah, I think that criticism is a fair one because I'm not a big fan of the whole Zerg thing either. But yeah.
Al Cardolina mentioned in the chat, I like it better when they spread things over several maps. I agree with that. I just feel like every 6 months, I think, is a good... 6 to 8 months is a good time frame to drop in like a Zerg loot fest. Like, that works well. Because you got like all your little things going around, checking little, going to different zones. And then it's like, okay, everybody meet in this zone, and we're gonna Zerg... Actually, we kind of had the Zerg with the... Scarlet's minions attacking too for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a good way to get loot, but it's not like so much all the time.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know if they could have really done it another way with this one because it was supposed to be focused in Lion's Arch.
Mm-hmm.
So like the Zerg thing with rescuing the citizens is understandable why it was everybody because it was basically just supposed to be a free for all type thing. With this one, I guess you could probably argue that they could have spread it out to other zones, but I like that it was all in... See, this is the thing. I like that it was in Lion's Arch. I don't necessarily like the Zerg aspect of it, so I don't know how to really remedy that. But yeah, I do think that it would be nice if there were more events that weren't so focused on huge groups all in the same zone, because it hurts for people like me that have a long time loading in and the computer starts to slow down when there's too many people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But, so that was... I was not a fan of that mechanically, but I do understand why they did it that way. I'm just saying, me personally, preference-wise, back-to-back Zerg stuff, like... So, I almost all of my Tuesday night, achievement-wise. Like, logged in on Wednesday, and 2 things, finished the achievement. Now I'm like, I'm good. Like, I did that, and I don't, like, I'm go in and like screw around in Lion's Arch, get some loot, but I don't really care enough about any of the other stuff to do it again.
Yeah, the achievements, like, there's quite a few of the achievements I didn't get, but I got the loot that I wanted because I got through the Scarlet fight.
Mm-hmm.
I will probably go back in just to kind of run around the city and try to get some of those Alliance bags and do some of the events.
Mm-hmm.
I probably won't do the Scarlet events again, though, because I don't see any reason to, really.
Yeah, I mean, you can get the cores to change the back pieces, potentially. If the loot
Yeah,
works.
I got one of those. Like, that was the first thing that dropped for me, so I guess I just got lucky. But you can buy them, too, off of the...
No, can you? Okay, well that's
Yeah.
good, because the loot table for that is... I mean, I don't know what the loot table is for that, but I know the fact that I would say 2 out of 3 times I don't get any loot for doing that event, period. Like, just no loot whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't know. There's been... There was one time where we did it where we were fighting the Green Knight, and the other 2 sides had gotten theirs down, and we needed like 30 more seconds, and we didn't get it down, and so we just didn't get anything for that event. Like, really? Okay. But, now that people are starting to figure it out, that doesn't really happen so much. So.
Okay. So it starts off, you get a mail, and it says, come to Lion's Arch, we're going to take it back. And here is, let's call this complaint number 2. We'll call this giant plot hole number 1. What happened to the miasma? It was so dangerous that we had to get out of Lion's Arch because we were all going to choke and die, and now all of a sudden we decide we're going to take it back and we're immune to poison?
No, I think we stopped the miasma. Like, if you go back into the city, there's still a couple containers of it left in certain places. But I think that the gist I got is that we stopped her forces from deploying the miasma, and we're fighting them back now, so they can't actually deploy anymore.
Okay, but if we stopped it, why was the last thing we did in the last patch, get out of the city, everyone, the miasma's too thick, and we had to run away. We ran out or we died. And then now all of a sudden we can go back in? Because obviously Scarlet's like, well, they left. So I'll obviously get rid of all this stuff that completely allows my plan to go through with no problems. How could this end badly?
Live Spartan says the wind blew it away.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, there you go. I just, like, that's a big plot hole for me.
Yeah, I think...
Without, like, that could have been, like, a pre-event to going back in. Would be, like, we need to work with the orders to create this wind device to blow the miasma out, and that, like, that's, like, a 5-minute event that then ends in a cutscene that we can then go into Lion's Arch.
I think it was... I don't know. I think it was more that we just stopped them from deploying more of it, but I see your point. I mean... As far as I have seen, it's not really clear, so I don't know.
Oh, apparently, according... Yeah, I guess the official
in the patch
answer...
notes, that's the reason they get... Seriously?
The wind blew it away. Yeah. So, and I agree completely with Alicardalina. That's like a... Oh! Yeah.
That's the dumbest reason I've ever heard.
Like...
Sorry. That's just ridiculous.
You know what I mean? Like... Oh, it just blew it away. Really? Really?
Blew it to where? Ugh.
Where did it go? What zone is now devastated by poison gas? Like, if I walk around Bloodtide Coast, all those frogs right at the top of Bloodtide Coast aren't all dead because of miasma cloud that blew through it. You know what I mean?
That's too funny.
I don't know.
Yeah, this is sorry. Live Spartan linked the patch notes. It says Scarlet and her armies may have pushed us out of the city, but now the winds have blown her vile miasma out to sea. That seems like a very poor planning on her part. Like, well, we'll put this miasma down, but I guess we'll forget that the wind exists. Oops. Oh, I didn't see that. That's actually really funny.
But the thing
yeah,
is...
that's terrible. That was like someone forgot at the last second. It's like, oh shit, we gotta get rid of this miasma. How are we gonna do it? Wind did it. It works.
There's just a group of air elementalists just gusting it all away.
Oh
to
my
sea.
god, that's funny.
I mean, yes, and I saw it mentioned there that yes, the wind would blow stuff away in real life. But if you look at the design of Lion's Arch, it is kind of all enclosed. You know what I mean? Like it's protected on most sides. And if miasma is anything thick, like a lot of certain dense gases are, it would stay low. And they're also bringing it in. Like they have miasma generators. Like
Alucard Luna says Zhuge is responsible. That was a Three Kingdoms reference. Thank you, Alucard Luna. Yes, he prayed at the altar, and the wind came.
Caramon says we summoned Captain Planet. You know what?
Yes.
I would have been okay if we this is old school ArenaNet style. Like this would have been old school April Fool's Day content where we would go around and combine the elements, and they would have some cheesy like Captain Tyria or like Commander Tyria, and by our energies conjoined together,
by our attunements combined,
we summon Commander Tyria, and he'll take down evil that pollutes
he'll
and plunder.
Take out the toxic miasma.
Yeah.
Stop. Sorry. Hey. Sorry. 1 second. My dog is sitting on my cord. Okay, I'm good.
But anyway, so that again, that was my next complaint. But then it's basically just unorganized Zerg chaos for 45 minutes out of an hour, right?
Yeah, there's little mini events and stuff, but
I mean,
it's essentially that.
I'm not gonna diminish the events because I do want to talk about those, but like that's basically like I walked in at first and I was like, what do I do? I guess I'll just go do some events and get some achievements. So there's a lot of defending, wave type zones and attacking the miasma generators that are there. And then there's she's got 5 champions, 5 of her greatest champions ever that we've never heard about till right now. Complaint number 3. Just logging that one in. But you know what I mean? Like, there's the munition specialist, the molten shaman, the toxic spider, the Aether Blade Admiral, and the Aether Cannoneer, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's right.
So, and they kind of spawn at different times, and they all have, some of them have pretty neat mechanics, but they're sometimes difficult to organize in Zergs. Now, you deal more with conditions than I do, and I don't know if that was on some of these guys or just on the knights that you can't use conditions on.
I think it's just the knights, because they actually have a condition shield. I don't think the commander or the.
I wanted to say that the cannoneer did, but anyway, I took us like a half an hour one time to beat the cannoneer. Like, he was just a pain. Like, we're just like DPSing like crazy, and just like it's just like slow knocking that bar down. But anyway, I super like the Aether Blade Admiral. The one that, I don't know if you fought him, the one that teleports around with like the bombs.
No.
That one I really like. He teleports, like it's like, and like if you get caught in that, then there's like a bomb above your head, and if you don't dodge out of it, you die.
Okay.
So it's a really cool mechanic, but it wreaks havoc in a Zerg. Because, people just group together around this guy, and then, like, everybody's got bombs on them.
They just explode. Right. I love it when they do that, but I hate it too, because 9 times out of 10, people are running around with bombs, and they don't realize. Oh, I guess I did fight him.
Yeah?
Someone's telling me I did. Sauna's telling me I did.
Yeah.
My brain sucks, so.
Cool. But yeah, so that's that. Someone's also saying the cannoneer needs to get hit by the sky laser. That might be why it took us forever to kill him.
Right, that's the guy. Okay, I remember that fight now, because that was a pain.
Well, that's a different guy than the Admiral. The Admiral's a char, but
trying to drag anything into anything in big Zerg battles like that is almost impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
Good news is, if you didn't get your Halo or your Devil Horns, the rubble piles are still around.
Yeah.
Which makes sense that those wouldn't go away, because they're just piles of rocks. They didn't blow away with miasma. The rocks are still
With the
there.
wind.
Yeah. So this basically just this kind of Zergy chaos continues for 45-ish minutes. And then all of a sudden, the image we showed last week from the the Atlas shows up. These assault knights that are these watchwork knights with the back pieces and the big aether hammers. And then they just kind of chill for like 5 minutes. They just don't do anything.
Yeah, that was weird the first time I saw it. It's like, okay, guess.
You're right. I mean, they're just kind of hanging out, and then it's just basically a countdown until that event starts.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I kind of mindlessly, and again, going along with my complaints here, kind of mindlessly zerged through those like once. But you might have a better understanding of those events. I mean, I get the gender. Wow, Jesus, I'm having a great day. The general idea behind them, and I know more or less what happened. But why don't you kind of enlighten us?
You mean just the whole knight fight?
Yeah, the knight fight and the mechanic and how things works with that.
Okay, well, yeah, basically the way that they work ideally is that there's 3 knights on the map, and each one is set to a different Asuran college. So there's one that's sent to statics, one that's set to dynamics, and one that's set to statics, dynamics, synergetics. And so you have to kill all 3 of them within the time frame. And when you do that, you get an attunement. The problem with fighting them is that they are not just immune to conditions, they reflect conditions. At least until they get down to around, like, when you knock off like 30% of their health-ish is when they kind of change phase. But yeah, so people are obviously throwing out conditions constantly, and people are just going down all over the place because of that. Then there's also a big slam attack that it does, but it uses the newer, like, thick red circles, so you can kind of see when it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a giant one that she does, and that's where she leaps up into the air and then slams the hammer down. And it's kind of weird because the circle shows up before she leaps, but the dodge animation has to happen when she's hitting the ground. Because when she hits the ground, it sucks everyone in from like a huge distance, and then she does a big slam again and kills people. So basically you just constantly see people getting sucked in and dying repeatedly. But yeah, so once you get her down to like 30%, she'll change phases, and then she's weak against conditions. So that's when you want to pile on conditions as much as possible. And there's like a little shield thing that counts down from 50 really fast. Mm-hmm. And you want to keep that up to 50 so it doesn't turn off that condition thing.
Okay.
But eventually she'll switch phase again and go back to being immune to conditions, and then you just basically repeat that. It's not a hard fight, to be honest. You just have to remember not to dodge during the huge red circle. Wait until it goes away.
To everything that you would think.
Yeah, well, exactly. You have to wait for it to go away, count 1 second, then dodge, and you'll get it every single time. And yeah, and don't use conditions until that's that part of the phase. But yeah, that's all. Once you get all 3 of those killed, assuming you do it in the time limit, you get 1 attunement from each color. So there's red, green, blue. And then that gives you a white attunement, prime attunement or something like that. And that's when you can use the portals that are around the map to actually get up to the drill, which is the next phase of the fight.
Right. Okay. So, thank you. That was very descriptive.
You know how I roll.
Yeah, it's an interesting mechanic. Again, like, this would be awesome in like a dungeon or an instance fight, like figuring this kind of stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't believe that this works very well in Zerg content. Obviously, when people aren't very organized. I didn't really know what was going on. As a Guardian, I don't really deal with conditions. So
Yeah, you know what the problem is, I think, is that they need to make. Okay, so let me see if I can explain this properly. You've got the NPC name at the top of your screen,
yep,
and then below them sometimes is a short description of different things that they do. But in the case of the knights, I don't think that that's actually there. Then there's like the health bar, however it's arranged. Anyway,
yeah,
and then below that is where all of the buffs and conditions stack. And based on what order they come in, things are jumping shit all over the place.
yep.
So if you are trying to figure out what the boss's buff does, good luck, because you can mouse over it and instantly it moves position.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it needs to be a big solid thing, and it needs to describe what it does somewhere, because the only way that I can figure out to do that is to basically shift click it so it pops into chat. Then I have to mouse over it down in my chat box, read it real quick, then I can look back up to the fight. And it's like, there needs to be some way to identify how these things work better, because for the longest time I didn't know that she was immune to conditions. I just knew that I was shooting it with all of my bow skills, and some of them were making me get conditions, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then finally I was able to tie down what that stupid thing was. And then I knew. I was like, all right, cool, now I know how this fight works. But until then, you're kind of just like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
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 Anyway.
So next comes the and so the next complaint is the loot from them is supposed to be, I think, once a day that you get from those guys.
Is it?
I thought it was supposed to.
Okay,
That's what I
it might
originally
be.
heard. But the loot, like the first 2 or 3 times I did it, none of them dropped any loot whatsoever.
Did you kill them?
Yep.
Wow. Because I haven't had that happen, but I've
That
only
might have
done.
been fixed since the patches, but
Well, I did it. I mean, when I did it, it wasn't the hot fix, but the 2 times I managed to actually kill one of the knights, they dropped. So I probably just got lucky. But yeah, like Joel in chat saying that it was bugged. So
yeah,
that sucks.
I think the very first time, I got loot from 2 of them. I got 10 champion boxes from killing 2 of them. Then, like, the next time I didn't get anything. Then one time I killed them and got a daily chest pop up from them. It was really weird.
Yeah, the only thing I've had show up is the champion boxes, which is what you're supposed to get. But
yeah,
I'm not going to go into the whole bug thing. That's a whole different conversation.
So, anyway, so then you get your white attunement, and then you run through these like circular portals, which if you don't have the attunement, will completely just knock you out. Now, earlier on, you can actually use, if you have one of the back pieces in your inventory, the spinal blade back pieces.
Yeah, spinal blades.
You can actually, I don't know if that's still the case, but you could initially skip straight to the end fight. Skip this whole middle phase and go straight to it.
Yeah.
Which I
skip
actually
the watch nights, skip those things.
Skip the next piece that we're going to talk about with the hologram. I did that, actually. That's what I did, because everything else was bugged. When I first logged in, you couldn't get attunements. Killing the knights didn't give you anything. You just sat, like, you killed them all, and that was fun. And the attunements didn't show up, so you couldn't enter the hologram fight. And I walked up to the hologram, or the portal, and it was like, you can skip this if you want. And I was like, okay, sure. And I think it's cool, because I think the logic behind it is that, like, the back piece makes Scarlet's portal think that you're one of her minions. So it lets you in. So that's cool. But let's talk about the hologram fight, and then I'll get on to my next complaint. And again, I don't mean to be complainy, because I do like that. Once we get to the cutscene in the final piece, I'm super all about that. But the bugs just make me angry.
Yeah, well, that's understandable. Like I said, I didn't run into any of the bugs, so that's probably part of it for me. But yeah, I must have been ridiculously lucky, which I never frickin' am. So I'm glad. But I know, like, some people were talking in Skype chat that night, actually, that the different event, like this part of the event, this phase was bugged for them. So I don't know if because when I got through it, it was right after the hotfix, so maybe that's why it worked, and then after that it bugged out. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, people are saying that there's a special purple portal that you can go through. When I first did it, when the game first came out, it didn't matter which portal will let you in. I'm just gonna put that out there. I used the one over by Fort Mariner. Right outside. That's one.
Yeah,
that
like
I
right
used.
on the cliff.
Yep, and that one let me go through fine, no problems. So that was weird. So I guess maybe that was a bug. So anyway, you get through the portal, and then there's giant scarlet hologram in the middle, and she's doing all these fights, and essentially she's got that white attunement. And the main mechanic behind this is you need to gather all the red, blue, and green attunements to get the white attunement to be able to do any damage to her.
Yeah, and they move constantly.
Yep.
So that's the hard part, is to get all of them before they wear off as they move around the floor.
Right, because if you don't have that and you continue to attack her, when you hit 10 stacks, I think it downs you.
Maybe. I know if you get a certain amount of stack, I think I had 4 stacks once, and I took a chunk of damage, but I didn't die.
I moused over the condition. I think it says you all go down if you hit 10 stacks.
Wow.
Of that. So that's basically you have no attunement now, and you continue to attack the hologram. It's like hologram sickness or something. It looks like a little Pac-Man ghost. It's a pretty cool symbol, but
see, that's another thing that if that was better described, you have to mouse over it, try to figure out what it does.
And again, it could go away if you get the attunement. It disappears.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't know. But I don't know. I agree with you completely on that point, but I don't know how you would go about making it more prevalent to see without cluttering up the UI.
Right. Yeah, that's a fair point. I'm not sure either. It was a problem in Guild Wars 1 for me too sometimes, but that's neither here nor there.
She has this super special gun that she shoots lasers, and you basically have to dodge the lasers and just keep damaging her. And here comes my... Well, is there other mechanics?
Well, it's not just that she shoots the lasers, just the lasers stay there on the floor for a long time.
Yeah.
So you're basically you're trying to run around to get all the attunements, and there's lines of lasers across the floor that you have to roll through to get anywhere. It's tough. Getting around even just to get the attunements is difficult. So
Aegis is your friend.
Yes.
If you're a guardian and you have access to that.
If you're a ranger.
Yeah, sorry. I think you can maybe get that through your pet, maybe somehow.
But I think one of them does. You can, if you dodge through the laser, you can actually get all the way through without taking damage, so it's not too bad.
Well, so here comes my next complaint, because first 3 times I went in and did those events, the Assault Knight events, the attunements were bugged, and you couldn't go anywhere from there. I finally get in for the first time, and we beat it in under 6 minutes. We got that at 6 minutes to nightfall.
Wow.
Beat it in under 6 minutes in an overflow, random Zerg, beat it. Get in there, I'm excited, get it down to a 10th health, thing bugs and you can't go any further.
Oh, God.
So I don't know, you'll have to explain what happens when you get her down to low. I know Scarlet pops up at some point, is running around, a version of Scarlet is attacking people.
No, it's her.
Okay.
She shows up. She's just invulnerable, and she shoots people and does a ton of damage. Did you get to the phase where? Oh well, this is the next phase. Basically, there's a second phase where there's still the big hologram in the center, but then a bunch of smaller ones break off.
Nope.
And they essentially charge the big one. And you have to kill the smaller holograms so that they don't charge up the big one, but you have to do that by knocking them into the big one, kind of like you do in the Aetherblade path of TA, to get the spawners down. So you shoot the holograms into that and kill them, and that's how you get that phase down. If you don't, then it summons a laser that hits every person automatically. It's like the the laser that summons at the end of the marionette event when you fail, you know how there's just no way you can get away from it? It's that same exact thing. It doesn't insta-kill you like that one does, but it does a chunk of damage, and even if you dodge it, you still take damage.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that part is not easy.
Son mentioned that Scarlet shoots out domes. That
yeah, there's that too.
That, like, they're basically Guardian Sanctuary domes that, like, if you run into, you bounce off. So we got to that point where the domes show up, but the little mini holograms you're talking about, they never spawned.
Okay.
So at that point, the main hologram goes invulnerable and can't receive any damage. Oof. And then, like, we just sat there and attacked her till the timer. Because this is also a timed event, for those of you who don't know. You have 20 minutes to kill the hologram. So we did that, and then okay. So yeah, we just got stuck at that point. So like, I've been frustrated trying to get into this. The game wouldn't work. It was bugged. The nights didn't go anywhere. And then I finally get in. I do it in under 6 minutes. I'm riding that 6 minutes to nightfall achievement high, and then I get in there and it bugs out when she's at like a 10th of health and goes invulnerable and we can't win.
Right.
So I was just like, I'm done. I'm out. Scarlet, whatever. I don't care about your stupid hologram. I'm out. I got my meta achievement. I already finished the living story. I don't want to go back.
I think that would probably taint my feeling of it as well. Like I said, ours just happened to work, so maybe that's why I liked it so much going through those phases. A lot of people were disappointed. I think someone said it in chat. I think it was Caro, but it's really far back. That they were kind of disappointed with how anticlimactic the whole thing was.
Yes, absolutely.
See, I wasn't really. I'm glad it wasn't a bunch of really long boss fights. I just feel like all the stuff leading up to that was that. And it was, once we actually get inside, which is the next phase once you beat the hologram, you get inside the drill, you get to where Scarlet is, and she is basically laying on the floor. She's injured, essentially. Whether she got injured during the fight with you when she's bouncing around shooting people, or whether the corruption, whatever, has caught up with her. Yeah. I felt like there wasn't any need to draw it out beyond that point, personally. So
I don't think it necessarily needed to be drawn out, but I feel like I deserved more. Like, I deserved more epicness, like maybe more cutscenes. I would have been okay with. I mean, I get why we had to do Zerg stuff because it was everybody, but I would have been more with. I would have liked more instance stuff, more of those cutscenes, because we'll talk about that in a little bit. How amazing just the quality of these cutscenes has gone up to some degree in certain parts. But yeah, that's. We're gonna get to my next problem. You teed off on it right there. Why is Scarlet injured?
Well, there's like I said, she was there during the hologram fight, so it's very likely that she got injured during that fight. But something we'll talk about in a minute, during the next cutscene, she looks like she is almost dead anyway. So it's one of those two things. If I had to guess, it's either that she got hurt during that fight, or that she basically has wasted so much of her energy away doing all this stuff that her body just can't handle it anymore.
Well,
and if you look at her, I mean, I actually have a screenshot. If you want to throw it up, I can send it to you.
But you can try. See what
happens. She does not look good. Let me get this here.
Yeah, Carol mentions about that she was supposed to be in a suit working on things. Bromms' screen's gonna bug out a little bit, so bear with us for a second here, guys. I save this, and Bromms is back. But now they mentioned that it might have had to do with the fight with the hologram, and you know, that's all wonderful, and I'm not discounting that maybe it had to do with the fact that she was controlling the hologram and feedback through that. But tell me that. I want to know that. Like, don't just make me have to make a roundabout assumption. I want lore. Like, this is the end of the living story. Throw me a frickin' bone here. Come on. I just, like, I want, like, that would have been a good cutscene. More information for that kind of stuff. But anyway, now Scarlet's in the downstate. Best downstate ever. Also, I want to buy Hammer Radius, Assault Knight Hammer Radius for Guardians, because I fucking hit the whole map with my guy.
Yeah.
Best dub skill ever.
You can like have a whole keep with that thing.
Yeah, I'll just take the keep. Don't worry, guys. Keep down. Let's go. We're taking this.
Oh, that's right. Actually, Saundra just reminded me of something, and a couple other people in the chat mentioned it. And maybe this is why, because you missed this part.
Maybe.
So she connects with the hologram during the last part of the fight, and when you beat that part, she actually hobbles over to the door that you have to go through to get to the next part, and people are just sitting there wailing on her. That's why she's injured. Because we basically kicked the shit out of her as she walked back to her little place.
Apparently
Thank you.
Not
I completely forgot it, but see, I forget all this crap.
See, this is why I keep you here, because you're...
No, that's why we have a chat room, so
Yeah.
that people can remind me of stuff that I saw 2 days ago.
I don't know. I'm trying to see that picture that you took. So, oh, there it is. Just so I can have it. Yes. But anyway, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So now you're in there, and now comes the cutscene stuff. Scarlet's downed.
You should back up just slightly. When you first get in, you are met by the cast of characters that you've been walking around with, except Timey. She's not in there for some reason.
Which makes no
sense.
to
But
me.
Marjorie, Casimir, Bram, Rox, and someone I'm forgetting. Anyway, those four are there. And Bram... What's that?
That's it. Frostbite.
Frostbite, yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe that's who, I don't know. Anyway, so Bram and Marjorie kind of walk up to where Scarlet is. She's kind of behind this, like, shielded thing. And they go... like, Bram's basically like, alright, I'm gonna kick your ass. And Scarlet's like, don't you want to know why I was doing all this? And he's like, nah.
And
awesome.
And here is my two-sided opinion with this. At this point, when I was playing and watching the cutscene, in my brain and yelling at the screen is no. Because in every movie or video game ever, this is where they go, sure, indulge us, oh great villain, tell us your story, Bond villain.
Yeah.
And then they monologue for 5 minutes, and it's all a stall tactic till their so-and-so shows up or their rocket powers up, and then they're like, ta, and they're gone.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, no, I just want her dead. So, because that's what I would do in all those times. Like, don't you want to know why? Nope. Game over. How many movies could have ended so much faster? Book series could have just ended if they were just like, no, I don't really care what you have to say. You're dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, after completing that and thinking it through again, yes. Oh my god, yes. Please tell me why you did what you did.
I thought she mostly did.
We know that she was...
she doesn't, but we get the gist of it.
I mean, we know she was researching the ley lines and she has a giant-ass drill to drill into it. But, I want to hear in Scarlet's own words why she did what she did. Like, not in pieces of a journal that we kind of have to piece it together. I want Scarlet to tell me... I mean, it's too late. It's over. It's gone.
Yeah.
Whatever. But...
See, I'm glad
retrospect, I would like to know.
The cutscene after that basically shows you everything you need to know.
True.
So,
but I'm just... Again, I can never get what I want unless we follow that one priory story where you have the necromancer that can summon the spirit of somebody that was dead and then you can talk to them, but...
Yeah, you know what they could have done is had, a voice recording on the computer afterward that you could play, and it would just be like, this is why I did it, because I'm...
And then that ended with the self-destruct. And like that was the whole
Yeah.
point of it, was like,
Yeah.
or you know what would be even better, I think, would have been it starts playing and the self-destruct's happening at the same time, so you can message or get blown up.
Right.
That I think would be
Yeah.
better. Because that's like Scarlet. That's chaotic and crazy. Like, stay and listen to why I did what I did. It's kind of Joker-esque.
But you're gonna die if you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's you wasted information.
Well, there's one big thing that happened, and it didn't go the way I thought it was going to, which I'm really curious as to why it didn't. But I guess I'm glad that it didn't, because I liked how it ended. But so Scarlet's laying there.
Hang on,
Graham's
hang on. Citrus
okay.
Robot's friends are here in the chat and they're drunk.
Oh, awesome.
So I'll let you read it because I know you had such a good time last time.
What if we do with Scarlet what ye do with the firstborn that used Kallenbolg? I forget the names, but it's the Silvari Priory level well trying to find that sword and you go back into his past. What?
But yeah, there's a...
Right, yeah, that...
well, at least I'm not sure if they're drunk, but it seemed enough like it to me that it was funny to read.
We'll just pretend that they are. I like it better that way.
Yeah. No Sauber podcasts, guys. Gotta be not Sauber.
No Sauber podcast, yeah.
But
yeah. So basically, yeah, Bram's like, no, we don't want to know why you did it. And he and Marjorie, like, charge towards Scarlet. And that's when she basically, I forget if it's the shield that does it or if she, like, shoots something. I think it's she puts up, like, that shield. And it sends them both flying backwards.
Yeah. And I would like to comment about how badass Marjorie was, because she's like, what are you gonna do? Lock me up in a jail? Ha ha ha. And then Marjorie like pulls out like dagger and axes, like something like that. And I'm like, you are so badass. Ugh. And then, yeah, then that happens. And then it's like, they're like pretty much right on point with each other when they run up, and somehow Marjorie gets like devastated, knocked back. Is Marjorie's dead? Am I right when I call that Marjorie's dead and it's gonna make Casimir snap and become a badass? Could I have been right? Those of you that heard me say that, were you having that run through your head? Because some people told me, like, God damn it, Lag, you called it. Like, people have mentioned that to me.
Well, I thought that she was gonna die. Like,
So did
I was expecting her to die during this event, and so I was like, "Oh, okay, she got knocked back. She's gonna die." And Bram like mentions a little later that his leg is broken, so like he took a big hit from that thing.
And like Marjorie's dead, and he broke his leg. I mean, maybe that's because he's a Norn.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. But yeah, so essentially you have to wait until, like, you find out that you have to wait until she's attacking you, and then you can actually get inside of her shield. Except if you're a ranger and your pet's just like, I'm gonna go inside, and it's just standing in there, like, dude, come on, do something.
Yep. But yeah, Rox is like, Bram's like, go. You need to kill Scarlet to get into the warband, and she's like, no. I'm gonna stay here with you and your broken leg and not worry about the dead girl on the ground. But your broken leg needs me to stay here and hold you, Bram. I mean, the more important part is that she's staying with Bram.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't need to be in the warband. I've got you, buddy.
Right.
And then, like, Casimir's, like, freaking out about how Marjorie's dead. And she's like, just like cracks and's like, we need to go. I'm gonna distract her and you kill her.
Whoever her voice actress is did a really good job with that scene, because it could have been exceptionally corny and it wasn't. It was really well done. Yeah, that whole, like, everyone in that scene just did an awesome job.
Yeah, and it the animation was the animation at this point was good. I think the explosion animation or the shockwave animation was a little corny if you go back and watch it. But the this animation is good. And then I can't remember the exact number, but like Casimir hulks out and summons like 5 clones. I think
Yeah.
that's impossible.
Yeah,
Mesmer's can't do that, but
She can.
she can. And then she starts like taunting him and being like, Kiera,
Awesome.
Kiera, Kiera, like yelling at
Yeah.
Scarlet. And the longer it takes, the more dialogue you get between the two of them.
And
But
it's funny because like she's actually pissing Scarlet off. She's like, "Don't call me that.
yeah,
That's not my name."
yeah. So, like Bromms said, she's throwing grenades. There's like you can't get past her because she puts her shield up. And eventually, you know, if you can't figure it out, Casimir mentions like you need to get like her shield goes down when she attacks. So you just dodge roll somehow in there. Bet you something like that might work out pretty well. And then you can stomp Scarlet, and then you run back to check on. I think it's then when you run back to check on Marjorie and Bram.
Yeah.
And then all of a
Yeah,
sudden,
after you stomp Scarlet, basically, that's when that whole thing happened. Like, that's when you find out that Marjorie's not dead.
yeah, double bluff on ArenaNet.
Yeah.
That's what the completely unknown before rocks as a ring.
Sure.
She battlefield magic, which I assume is not magic in the technical use of magic, like how an elementalist uses magic.
Yeah, just like in
I mean, like a Bromms, work your technical magic to make something work. You know, thing, and apparently fixed Marjorie, who now got like fan service, felt more forced than it need to be kiss scene between Marjorie and Casimir. And I have no problems with it, but I feel it felt a little forced to me.
It made sense in the context, I think. I mean, she did think she was dead, like not that long before that.
Yeah, depending on how long the fight took. Yeah. No, and I think it was all right. Like I have no problems with it, but I felt like they didn't need to. Like I felt like that could have been like a hug, you know, neck cradle, you know, thing. But whatever. Again, I just me personally, I felt it was a little bit forced, but it's all good.
It was kind of like that. It was basically the action movie cliche. Like you beat the boss, now you get the girl. Boom.
And this cutscene, though, phenomenal.
Oh my god! Yes.
Because, before we get to what you're talking about, I think I'm talking about just the Marjorie Casimir cutscene right there. The facial expressions on the characters are like, their faces are like dynamic and they're moving, and like the whole animation of like holding Marjorie when she's on the ground, and like this is what they're going to now, folks. Like they cut out, they've said no more personal story style cutscenes. Those are gone forever. You know, the old school character artsy background that moves, those are gone. They're moving to these now in-game cutscenes. They have people dedicated to doing this kind of stuff, and we can see that they can set up the characters in different positions, and like you saw like Casimir's eyes were all wide when she thought Marjorie was dead, and you know, I really like the animation that it's come a long way. Then comes the artsy style cutscene of the ending, which
of awesome epic proportions.
We were not able to stop the drill. Like it kind of seemed like we forgot about it because we're too busy focusing on Casimir and Marjorie and all that. So the drill hits its mark, which is a big blue blob, apparently, according to the drill, screen. And then we see this massive, like, blue crack, like, streak coming out of, does it come out of Gandaren, I guess?
It basically goes to, Gandaren, or somewhere around there. But yeah, it's Gandaren.
And then it gets to the Thalmanova reactor.
Well, it goes through Gandaren, and then it goes into Brisbane.
Okay.
So yeah, goes that route.
Yep. And the Thalmanova reactor's there, and then it like ends into like some sort of jungle-looking area. Whether it's an area we have seen, I'm inclined to think that it's an area we have not been able to get to.
I think it's the jungle west of Brisbane.
Yeah.
So I think you're right.
and then it like goes underground, and then you see like teeth. Right?
Yeah. You see scales, and then like, oh god, it's so awesome. Yeah, you basically see what appears to be a dragon waking up.
Yes, and now we're going to talk about some other stuff. One, the way people knew that the enemy's name was Mordremoth was the fact that there was a skill called Teeth of Mordremoth on Subject Alpha that was like mine used as a Subject Alpha was used from all the different stuff from all the different dragons in the Crucible of Eternity dungeon, and the skill that you got hit by was Teeth of Mordremoth. So actually, thought this made was brought to my attention by Wooden Potatoes is the fact that like the first thing we knew about this thing was used by Teeth of Mordremoth, and what's the first thing we see about the dragon is the teeth of Mordremoth. I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know if they did that on purpose or not, because every other time we've only seen dragon eyes open.
Right.
But that was pretty cool. And then this was I'm pretty sure I haven't found the exact article, but I'm fairly certain that ArenaNet basically came out and was like, yeah, it's a dragon, it's Mordremoth. That's what it's gonna be like on the forums.
Well,
they just flat out.
We know it's the forest dragon.
Yeah.
So.
And I do think it's funny that way back in the day, Colin Johansson said the chance of someone guessing what the path of the living story ending would have been was a 1 in a million chance.
Well,
pretty sure everybody knew this was coming.
I guess we got it.
Yeah. There must be several million people they're basing it on.
Well, there are some interesting things that could happen from here that maybe that's kind of what he was talking about, because we've talked several times about how there's a jungle dragon and how like there's been speculation from us that that the Sylvari are somehow intertwined with the jungle dragon. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of where the living story is going, where it turns out that the Sylvari do have something to do with the dragon, and the Pale Tree has something to do with the dragon. Like, I think that's what they're going to be doing, which is awesome. I hope that that's the case, because it seems like that's what's going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll get back to that in a sec. I posted a link in the chat to the Mordremoth Twitter account, which was made shortly after this had happened. And I also noticed that after the event, the Scarlet Briar Twitter account has stopped tweeting.
Yeah. You should mention that the Mordremoth Twitter account is not an official one.
Neither is Scarlet, though.
Right.
ArenaNet, I posted the link that basically ArenaNet said none of these things are like us. But I don't know if I believe that, because they post things before, like, they're posting content.
The Scarlet one, I think, was somebody from ArenaNet. The Mordremoth one, I'm not.
No, they called out the Scarlet one specifically and said we don't have anything to do with it. But then, like I said, there's all the other characters: Marjorie, Bram, Casimir, Rox, Timey.
Yeah.
They're all there and they all have things. But like I noticed, like Ruby, an ArenaNet dev, followed the @Mordremoth on Twitter. Like, really? You're a dev.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like Lord Vanquish was the villain from Super Adventure Box. It posted a full-on video like 5 days before Super Adventure Box second time around came out.
Right.
Like, that's exclusive content. And like the Scarlet Briar one posted pictures and things ahead of time.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see what it is, but the Mordremoth one is kind of funny if you read through it, and like trash talking people all the time, and like putting down about how Zaitan's weak, stuff like that. I thought it was kind of funny. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's an interesting read to see him badmouth people, like taking pictures of people with Zaquaddle wings and be like, "Is this what passes for a dragon champion now?"
That is pretty awesome.
Yeah. So, back to what I was saying and what you were saying. one of the main living story. I can't remember if it's Angel McCoy, who's one of the living story narrative people. Savari is her favorite race, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And like in doing so, by having this jungle dragon, if this is indeed or Living Story Season 2, assuming that by the time it starts, that they are convinced that this is the path they want to go. They've said they don't want to give up on the Living Story like process.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, there's always the potential that they might just be like, you know what, let's make it every 3 weeks. Or, you know what, let's make it once a month. Or let's maybe not do it at all. And go with an expansion. I don't know. I doubt it because they put so much effort into it. But it's not. No one can say that that's impossible.
Well, how do you feel about, like, now, okay, so now that we know what all of this was leading up to, how do you feel about the Living Story as a whole up to this point?
I feel like I don't know. Wasn't really invested. I mean, I've done all of it the whole way through. But I feel like the first half of the year, I didn't even really, like, it seems so...
of last year?
Of last
like
year,
first
half of last year, rather. Like, that stuff happened, but, like, I couldn't really care about it, and, you know, maybe it was the fact that Scarlet wasn't introduced, and I'm not a huge fan of Scarlet myself anyway, but, like, that stuff, I felt like that could have just not happened. The Molten Alliance stuff, all that, like, that could have just not happened, and it wouldn't really have affected the story. Toxic, you know what I mean? Like, the whole Bazaar of the Four Winds was kind of weird with the Aether Blade showing up, and there's all that stuff they mentioned about Glint, and that just kind of just got left behind completely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know.
There were definitely some rough patches. I mean, I feel like it's been getting better, so I think the next time around we'll have a lot more to look forward to. Like, they'll have some experience with it.
Absolutely.
I don't think that the recent stuff really changes my opinion on the previous Living Story stuff. Like, it was, when it started, it was definitely really segmented, and it didn't really flow, and it didn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, I guess it makes sense now that we know kind of what the whole thing was, but I don't think anyone would argue that they could have done better with it, basically. It was rough. It was rough when it first started. It was rough for about half of it. Yeah, like you said. And once they kind of started to get their stride, and once they started nearing the end, actually, it started getting a lot better and a lot more interesting. And I actually got interested in logging in to do the story, not the events, which it was the complete opposite in the beginning phases. So.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know why, but these more recent, the more recent patches, I feel like I got less. Like, I feel like for the last 4 patches of the end of this massive, you know, we'll call it massive, year-long thing, I feel like there was less content. I don't know if that's just me.
No, I think I felt the same way. I mean, a lot of it was really kind of grindy stuff, and I just haven't had time to do grindy stuff. So I think that's part of it. The story stuff was short, but it was really concentrated, and there was a lot there. So maybe that was part of it too. Is that the part that I was looking forward to was the story, and that was the stuff that was like, you got in, you did some stuff, you got the story chunk for those 2 weeks, and then that was it for the story. Yeah. So it was like, all right.
I feel like there was more, maybe, and you know, maybe it ties back to what Alec Cardellina said before, that it's all in one zone. It makes it feel less.
Maybe, but like, think back to like Dragon Bash. There really wasn't much to do. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't feel like there was a lot more to do during Dragon Bash than there was during these events. I don't think.
Yeah.
Do you think? I don't know.
You know what? I don't know, but I'm reading like what Son just mentioned. So the last few paths were event based with little to no story, and yeah, I could feel, like I said, you log in for 30 minutes of the event on Tuesday, and like I said, I had 13 of 15 achievements Tuesday night, and I had bugs. If I didn't have bugs, I would have had the meta, all the achievement, and done everything in one night. And like I feel like the other stuff, it took me a week to get some of
yeah.
the stuff, or
A
sometimes
lot
even
of
the full 2 weeks to get everything done.
I
mean,
think like
achievement wise alone.
yeah, I know that if I would have been going for like the horns or the halo or whatever, it would have taken a lot longer, and I probably would have played a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
But those were like the reason I played Dragon Bash so much is because I wanted the rewards from it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, but like I know some people in our guild, like Elimer, she jumped on during Dragon Bash and was like, played for half an hour and is like, oh, that's it? Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I definitely don't disagree that these last couple patches have been thin. I just think that they've been directed toward people trying to get rewards for stuff. And that hasn't been what either of us have been doing, I don't think, because we've both been friggin' busy.
Yeah,
So.
I don't know. I haven't been nearly as invested in these patches, and I look back at some of the patches, even the ones that I wasn't too fond of. But like, look at like the Molten Alliance stuff at the beginning of the year, which, like I said, I could have lived without, and I think it could have been fine. Like honestly, I feel like you could have pulled out most of the stuff and just had her have the Watchwork Knights because she created them or whatever, and like that would have been enough of a minion. It would have kind of, I don't necessarily need to have that much variation in the minions that attack Lion's Arch. I get, it was nice to have it, but
yeah, well, there was also a lot of stuff with Rox and Bram that kind of came up during that. So I don't disagree with you. I just, yeah, I don't know. It was very, it just wasn't melded in together very well. That was the problem ultimately.
Yeah, it was pretty disjointed, and I feel like, and again, we've talked about it many times before, so I don't want to beat a dead horse, but, like, we'd heard something about Scarlet earlier on, or knew there was, like, a mastermind behind, and for, like, all of these things that were going to happen. We still don't know who E is, unrelated, but in my mind, jump back to that.
I thought someone pointed that out last time.
Did someone point that out last time? That we know
yeah,
who it
I just
is,
don't
or that
remember.
we...
Yeah, they mentioned a name, but I don't remember what it was.
Irrelevant.
Yeah.
But, like, we got the dungeon. We got the Molten Facility dungeon. Like, a whole new dungeon in the Living Story patch that, like, disappeared until Fractals brought it back. You know what I mean? But that was, like, the Molten Alliance. That was the start of it. Like, in the first 3 or 4, like, patches, we got a dungeon. You know what I mean? Like, that was, like, a big thing to get in the beginning. And now we're having the end of it, and I feel like I'm done in a half an hour, and then I'm, like, excited because it's almost the same equivalent as the 6-week break. Like, I can go play other games. I did everything this patch, and I'm not that invested in the rewards, I don't really care that much personally, and like I'm just gonna go play something else and wait till the next patch comes and see what happens. There is gonna be an epilogue, I should say that, the 18th of March. Yeah, they're going to do like a short epilogue to explain some things, which is interesting, so I'm looking forward. I'm hoping it's all done through cutscenes and that's it. Like, I don't have to play, I just watch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I don't know. Like, I'm hopeful because I've seen what they can do with the Living Story, but I still want a box expansion. Just give up. Just do a box expansion. Give me that. Give me what I want.
Yeah, I would like the same too. I think that's I was talking kind of with Tully about that today. Guild, they need to do something to start competing with like Elder Scrolls Online is dropping soon. It might have already released. I don't know.
No, it's still in beta.
Is it? Okay. It's coming out soon, regardless. And there's some other stuff down the road. Like, they really need to inject content into the game, and that's not really even a criticism because they have put a lot of stuff in the game, but they need to make a big release to get people excited so that it kind of combats these other releases that are coming out. And I think an expansion would do that, because think of when Elder Scrolls came out, Guild Wars was like, Elder Scrolls, we're putting in Tengu and multi-classing, and we're adding 6 new zones to the Maguma area, and, there's 2 more PvP matches, and blah, 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 blah. There's guild houses now, and personal houses, and all this stuff. Like, who is going to play Elder Scrolls if you've got all that stuff, and they like Guild Wars,
Yeah.
I feel like that's what they need to do. I like they're giving us content releases stretched out throughout time period. That's impressive. No other game really does that.
No.
But if to compete with stuff, you kind of have to get a big release too. They have to do both.
I still stand by the fact that I'd rather not have little releases, and we mentioned it when Grybach was on the show a while back. I'd rather have like a BBC Sherlock style thing where we just get like one a quarter, like a big patch drop once a quarter, and like that way I can go do other things if I want. I can log in, I can play stuff. I don't need both. I don't need something every 2 weeks and a big patch or like an expansion. Once a quarter, I feel like if you took all the work that your 5 teams could do and put 5 teams on making 1 quarter's worth of content, boom, next quarter, you know what I mean? And then, like, think about all that you could drop. Like, imagine if, like, we started playing, we had, like, the once-a-month update that we had, and then, like, come January, they're like, you know, we're going to still be doing balancing and little things here and there, but wait until March, right? Things are going to change in March. And they dropped, like, guild missions, a new dungeon, all this new story that you could cyclically go through for the Flame and Frost and all that in one patch. Everybody would have been like, what? This is crazy. You know what I mean?
That's a fair point. I'm torn on that, to be honest, because I can see both sides. And I honestly don't know what I would prefer at this point. So, yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see that, because bigger content patches less often could be really cool. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest. I don't know.
Like I said, I mean, that was kind of rough because they were kind of still decided to, they kind of were going to do once a month, and then they kind of changed that to the 2 weeks around early time, you know, early for that. So let's do the middle. Let's take the second quarter of the year, right? Okay. We're going to do a big patch update. It's going to be Super Adventure Box. It's going to be Bazaar of the Four Winds. You know, it's going to be all that, all in one go. You know what I mean? Like, it would have just blown people out of the water. So, I feel like once a quarter updates would be fine. Just focus all your efforts to giving us a big content drop. And then that's almost, you could call it a quarterly expansion. You know what I mean? Like a quarterly free expansion coming out to Guild Wars 2. You just word it cleverly and it could bring people back. You know? Or like, I mean, that would have at least taken you, a lot of that stuff would have taken you 2 weeks maybe, you know, casual, you know, somewhat, you know, normal play, not playing all the time, but you could probably run 2 weeks and then be like, oh, well, alright. I've spent 2 or 3 weeks finishing up, getting all the achievements, doing all this stuff, and now I'll take a break. Or, you know, now I'm so invested in this, I'll keep going. But now that we're going to have new cutscenes, and we know they have a better handle on how this works, it could be good. I'm still skeptical.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say for both of us that it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with the next Living Story season, because they have all this under their belt now, so it should be good straight out of the gate. Like, there's really no excuse at this point, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I can't really speak to it because I don't play MMOs. I'm not an MMO gamer. I don't really like MMOs. Guild Wars is the only MMO I've ever played.
Right.
So, ArenaNet's got to do a lot to keep me here and not sitting right there in the chair that you can't see.
Yeah.
Right over there playing all my console games, because I'm a console gamer first and foremost. And I don't really PC game. I PC gamed growing up because I didn't have a PlayStation. And I had a PC, so I could play Tomb Raider on my PC. You know? Played me some Tomb Raider and some Diablo and a little bit of StarCraft growing up. And that was it. And then, you know, it's Nintendo till they shot themselves in the foot with the Wii U. And then now I play other games, but that's irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely done a good enough job that we're still doing this, so that's something.
No, I know. It's just like, you know, they are what keeps me coming and sitting down and playing on my computer. They did it for 7 years with Guild Wars 1. In frequent bursts, sure, but like, you know, I want them to keep me wanting to come and play Guild Wars 2. So.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, we've been playing this game now for almost 2 years straight, a year and a half now, a little longer. That's That's crazy. Like I don't play games for this long. I mean, I played WoW for maybe a year straight. Maybe it definitely wasn't the same as it is with this game. So and yeah, like, I don't see
a lot of it too,
stopping anytime soon at all. So
yeah.
Plus Adventure Box is coming up.
Yeah.
Oh, I lost my headset. Sorry.
Last little thing before we close it out, guys, because we're running a long.
Oh yeah. We are
tune in next week. We're gonna do a big special show in some capacity. We broke 500 subscribers on YouTube. We set up $4.99 for like a week. It was driving me nuts. I really just wanted to be like, I'm gonna go make a fake account and then subscribe so we have 500. So we might do some giveaways. Try to do it's gonna be pretty late next week because the story's done. So we'll try to do maybe like a 500 subscriber year in review, something. I don't know. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, we'll do something. It'll be fun. So
yeah. So tune in. There'll probably be giveaways. So come check that out. And I probably should have linked this a lot earlier, but you know, I wanted to start a new segment on the show. I haven't come up with a clever name for it yet, where basically I shout out to Guild Wars 2 fan projects, whether that be fan art or, you know, photography or plushie creation or cosplay or what have you. And I want to showcase it here and, you know, spread the word out so people can check out how awesome their stuff is. So I'm going to come up with a new segment name for it, and we'll do that earlier in the show so it's not, you know, the ass end when everybody's about to log off anyway. Carlene says, you never verified if that the 500th like is or is not you. It's not me. I don't actually know who it is, but
I plead the fifth.
So I do want to link. This is from Zimmy Doom 1 on DeviantArt. I'm going to link the right now in the chat. I'm going to link the art specifically that I super like. So I'm going to let everybody take a second to go take a look at that. So,
sorry. Oh god, that's perfect.
So, I'll post a link to this in the description as well. I don't want to spoil it for those of you who are watching.
That's funny.
After the fact, yeah, I'll come up with a clever name, and I'm working on getting us nice transition cards for everything. So, I got a couple people that are working on some stuff for us. So be on the lookout. And be sure to check out Let's Lore coming out tomorrow, where we enter post-searing, and then be on the lookout for changes to Let's Lore going forward. But we'll see that when the next episode goes live.
Yes, indeed.
Alright, I think we ran pretty long here. You know what is great now that I think about it?
What's that?
I can bash all the Logan Thackeray I want.
Yeah, I suppose you can.
So, for the 86th episode of Chronicles of Tyria podcast, I'm lagywn.
And I'm Bromms.
And we will see you next time as soon as I find the music. Yeah, there we go. There it is.
I feel like we need to get ourselves air instruments.
When you say get ourselves air instruments, you can't just create one.
Yeah.
You know,
so
or get get a little drum section going. Air flute. Flute? There's no jazz flute in this music.
Or air harmonica. It doesn't have to match up with the music. That's the, you know.
A real harmonica.
I could be the stapler guy. Oh hey, shit! Why you just freaked out my dog?